4 implications of this so that you have something to take with you to work tomorrow. And hopefully you find something here that will genuinely make work better for you tomorrow, but I think you will. Here's the first implication, number 1. Your work is not a means to an end, but an end with benefits. Now, by benefits, I mean a paycheck, satisfaction, a sense of worth, bonuses, promotion, all the good things that come along with work. Those are benefits, but don't confuse the benefits with the actual purpose of work, which I'm going to unpack in just a second. Here's what I mean by that. If your primary purpose in work is to get paid, your work will ultimately become frustrating to you. Okay? Let me give you an example. If you were to say to someone, "Why do you work?" and they say, "To get paid," and you say, "What are you going to do with your money?" "I'm going to buy a car." "What are you going to do with your car?" "Drive to work." "Why?" "So I can pay for it." Let me tell you something. Once that new car smell wears off, that's frustrating. Now, the benefit is absolutely critical. In fact, if things are not going well financially, your life won't be flourishing either. And we're going to talk about that later in this series, how to be better with money. But it's not the primary purpose of work. Or let's say you make the primary purpose of work to build a sense of self-worth. Now I can speak with experience from this one, because when I was a young pastor, I made this the primary purpose of my work for a season, to make a name for myself, to know I'm important, to know I'm successful. Listen, if you make that the primary purpose of work, you will always be functioning from a place of low-level anxiety or fear, because someone else is always getting ahead. You're always falling behind. There's always more to do, because propping up your ego with what you do is a never-ending task. But if you make work about what God designed it to be, again, just a second, I'll reveal that, you can enjoy the work and you can enjoy all the benefits that come along with work, because you've got them in the proper order now. But that's the first implication. Your work is not a means to an end. It is the end. It is the purpose. You are made to work, and it brings a lot of great benefits into your life. Second implication. Your work has inherent dignity. We live in a country that elevates and promotes certain forms of work, primarily through more pay and recognition, and a society that devalues certain kinds of work with less financial compensation. That is not a biblical idea. Biblically speaking, all work has inherent value and dignity and worth. Now, here's what's interesting. The person in history who tried to leverage this idea, ironically, was Karl Marx. He tried to elevate the value and the platform of all laborers. So why doesn't Marxism work? It doesn't work because Marx didn't think through the implications of divorcing dignity of work from a God in heaven. He tried to marry ideas that can't go together, atheism and inherent dignity of all laborers. Now, the person who saw that this would never work was his contemporary, Dostoevsky. He understood that, wait, if there is no God, then what's wrong with the factory owners oppressing the workers? Isn't that just survival of the fittest? Isn't that how we got here? But he never understood that, and so Marxism doesn't work in the real world. Because if you divorce the idea that all work matters and all workers matter, you have to anchor that. You can't divorce that from a God in heaven who loves you, and a God in heaven who works, and a God in heaven who made us to work because we have his image on us. So, whatever you do, your work has dignity. Your work matters, and it matters in the eyes of God. Now, the last 2 points, we're going to get to the actual purpose of work that we find here in the Bible. Are you ready? Third implication of what we've read today. The purpose of your work is to imitate your heavenly Father. Now, Kathy and I, we have 3 boys. They're in high school and college now. But when one of them turned 8 years old, he decided that he was ready to write his first sermon, which I may have used the next Sunday. Now, why did he want to write a sermon when he was 8 years old? Because children want to imitate their parents. It's wired into kids. We are children of God, not by birth, by rebirth, through faith in Jesus. We're adopted into God's family, which means God becomes a perfect Father in heaven. And as children of God, we want to imitate our Father in heaven. And what does he do with work? He brings order out of chaos, beauty out of formlessness. He fills emptiness. Listen, your work is to imitate his work. If you start a new business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're creating something out of disparate parts. You're creating something that wasn't there before. You're imitating the work of God. If you're a janitor, a custodian, you are bringing order out of disorder. You are mimicking the work of God. If you're in the medical field, you're bringing order to a disordered body. If you're a counselor or a therapist, you're bringing order to a disordered life. If you're a hairstylist or a beautician, you're bringing order out of chaotic hair or face or nails or whatever it is. It all imitates the work of our Father in heaven. And you need to see your work as something that mimics your Father in heaven for it to have meaning and purpose and significance. Last thing. The purpose of your work is to serve your neighbor. Jesus said that the greatest command is to love the Lord your God with all your heart. And the second greatest command is to love your neighbor as yourself. What that means is, if you can connect what you do with half of your life to serving your neighbor and loving your neighbor, your work will instantly overflow with significance and purpose and importance. Here's how this works. The farmer grows and harvests the wheat. It's transported to the baker who makes it. And it's transported to the supermarket where people can buy it. And all of it is done in service to other people. It makes people's lives better. If you sell something, you're getting products and services into the hands of people to make their lives better, to make their companies more efficient, to earn them more money. Whatever it is, you're serving other people. If you're an owner, if you're a CEO, you are creating environments by serving your employees to make their experience of work better. Whatever you do, you have to connect the dots to see how this serves my neighbor. Now, here's where it gets really interesting with work. God could choose to provide for the world in any way he sees fit. I mean, he could just rain down food from heaven so that everyone would have enough. I mean, he did that in the book of Exodus. It was called manna. Or maybe he could do cloudy with the chance of meatballs and drop fully formed cheeseburgers out of the sky. God could do that. But the primary way that God blesses the world is through work. He uses people to accomplish his will. And when